even if this debt is 100% legal, a country like Greece cannot repay something like 350 billion euros. It's just impossible. If you have to close down all the hospitals, if you have to close down schools, if you have to destroy the infrastructure of the country, you cannot just start killing people to repay foreign banks.
It is my considered opinion that the vast majority of Greeks are quite determined, given the crisis that we are finding ourselves in, to do their bit and to pay their taxes and to even make serious sacrifices in order to see this recession end and recovery begin. The problem is not whether the Greeks are prepared to make sacrifices. The problem is how to convince Greeks that the sacrifices that they are currently making, and they are quite considerable, are an investment into a better future, or whether they are sacrifices that are simply consumed by a black hole that augurs really terrible news, not just for Greece, but for the whole of Europe in the future.
Yeah, you think it's a real European problem?
I know it's a European problem, and I think you know it too. Ireland is not a country that is known for its tax evasion or for a corrupt state. Spain has a debt and a deficit which is lower than that of the United Kingdom, and yet we are all Europeans in the same crisis. It's a twin crisis, you know. It's a crisis of the Eurozone banks and a crisis of the periphery debt. And the problem is that Europe, for a year now, is in complete and utter denial of the very nature of the problem. Look, there are two things that we have learned in life over the last 100 years. One is a banking principle. You do not solve an insolvency problem by giving more expensive loans to the bankrupt. And the second principle we learned in the 1920s and 30s was that introducing austerity in a country which is already in recession is a recipe for disaster. And what is Europe doing over the last year and a half? Exactly the opposite of those two lessons.
Is leaving the Eurozone a solution?
If Greece leaves the Eurozone, the Euro system will collapse within a few weeks, not even months. And I don't think this is going to be good news for the whole of Europe, for any part of Europe. Not for Holland, not for Greece, not for Germany. The solution has to be, very simply, a redesign of the Euro system. Look, the Euro system was not designed to take the shock of the great financial crisis, the worldwide financial crisis of 2008. We are all suffering, from Sweden to Portugal and from Ireland to Greece, the result of having constructed a Euro system which was not designed to take a crisis. You see, the people who constructed it assumed the crisis would never happen, and the crisis did happen. And like an earthquake which hits a building that was not constructed and designed in order to take an earthquake, the Euro system is cracking up and collapsing in different parts of it. And I very much fear that the problems that Greece is facing are going to come your way, and I very much fear that the hard-working Dutch and German taxpayers are going soon to realize that what has started in Greece is a wildfire that will consume their own houses.
Do you think, Mr. Varoufakis, that the Dutch taxpayer will ever see their money back again?
Well, let me say this. We have Greek taxpayers who are completely pessimistic about the prospects of any recovery based on their taxes. And then we have Dutch taxpayers who know, rightly so, that their money is being wasted. What happens with the Dutch taxpayers' money now is a scandal. It is given to the Greek state, not so as to ensure that the Greek state reinvigorates the Greek economy. The Greek state doesn't use any of this money for developmental purposes in Greece. The Greek state uses that money in order to pay back European banks, Greek banks, German banks, French banks, banks that are themselves insolvent or very close to insolvency. So what they do is they hoard the money and they don't lend it to Dutch business, to German business, to French business, to Greek business. So the winds of recession blow harder throughout the Eurozone. This is why the Dutch taxpayers should be very cross with what Europe is doing. So the solution is not more loans for Greece, because these are not loans for Greece. These loans end up inside the black hole that is the European banking system, which is in complete disarray.